called to diagnose this car. It's having a different issue now. This Ford Explorer 2019, but the customer has already bought these sensors, and I really don't know. So we'll scan it and see the problem. It's having performance issue. Performance issue. It could be. So now it's having this issue and the performance issue. So what I'll do is I'll go to live data. I'm checking the intake temperature rather. This one I'll deal with it later. So intake temperature sensor 1, and this is the location of the sensor 1. So let me go back and check live data and see why it's saying performance issue, because it's not tallying with the other temperature sensors around the engine. So let me check the ambient temperature sensor, because that's the inlet temperature sensor. So let me check the ambient temperature sensor. Okay. This is the ambient temperature sensor, and this is the voltage, and also this is the temperature sensor for the map sensor. So let me check for the temperature for the map sensor. Oh, sorry, let me go to the intake. So intake, injector, intake, injector. After injector, intake. Okay, so this is the intake sensors, and this is intake sensor 2. So let me show only the intake sensors, and you can see why it's reporting performance issue. You can see this temperature sensor is reading around 97 degrees, whilst the other one, this one is the intake temperature sensor 2. It could be the one on the manifold, which is reading 42, and the one on the ambient, which is the atmospheric temperature, is around 30 degrees. So that means there is an issue. It doesn't tally. So to identify the sensor, let me take out this socket. Yeah, take it out, and it goes to -0. That means I've been able to identify my intake temperature sensor 1. So what I'll do is I'm having another sensor here, which I got from the customer. So we'll place that one in to see. If not, then I have to go and find a resistor to work with it. So let me. So you can see that I changed the temperature sensor, and I'm still getting that same voltage and that same temperature. So what I'll do is I have a variable resistor. I'll place it in and regulate it and see if I'll be able to regulate the temperature sensor here. What I'll do is, this is the socket. I'll test if I will be able to find ground on it. So I should have ground on one and 5 volts on the other. So and because it's a sensor signal, anytime I touch the wrong pin, so I have to find for ground, and I have to know which of them is ground. So you can see when I get to the ground side, my test light test on, but this one doesn't turn on. So that means it's not turning on. So you can see, let me change the test light to ground and see if I'll be able to bring the voltage down and see if I'll get any change here. So it's still the same. So it's still the same thing. So now I'll put this variable resistance in it and regulate it and see if I can get the temperature that I need. Then I'll know what to tell the client, if it is from the sensor or something. Now before that, let me measure and see if I'll get any voltage on any of them. So there is ground voltage, and it's supposed to go to 0. That's the ground voltage, and there is a 5 volt reference. So the moment you touch, it's supposed to go to 0, but because this one is not sensing ground, so what I'll do is I'll put my variable resistor in it rather and regulate that voltage. Connect one side to ground and regulate it. With that one, I'll get the results that I want from this side. So now the moment I put the resistor, you can see I'm measuring 0 volts, and when you come to my scan tool, you can see I'm getting this 0 volt. So what I'll do is I'll try and control this variable resistor and see if I'll get any increment in the voltage. And you can see as I'm turning it, this is 0 volt. As I'm turning it, I'm changing the voltage, and it's also affecting the voltage on the scan tool. So you can see I'm changing it, and it's also affecting the scan tool, the voltage on the scan tool. So now it's around 1.5, which is around 50 degrees. So this one, you can see where I've drawn and this resistor is up to 10k. So I think the resistance in the system will be more than 10k, because this resistance is up to 10k. So now what I'll do is, you can see the same 1.5, then 1 point. So I'll measure the resistance in the sensors and see why they are not performing properly, or maybe they are not the exact sensor resistors. So you can see it's performing the same thing, and that's the exact thing that I'm getting here. So that could also affect the performance of the vehicle. Then I'll know what to tell the client, if he should buy a genuine part from Ford dealership. So I've measured all the temperature sensors, and all of them are giving me 1.5 kilo ohms. So try and see if I'll be able to get another temp sensor to regulate it. Then I'll know what to do from there. So this is what the vehicle is reporting. The intake temperature sensor 1 is different from the intake temperature sensor 2, and you can see the voltages are different. So what I've done is we've ordered for a new control board. So I'm going to replace the control board and see if it will have effect on this intake temperature sensor. If it doesn't have any effect on it, then I'll check the wiring, because it looks like there is a resistance in the wiring, and I'll do that. So after changing the control board, it was still having the same issue. So now we've disconnected it. So what I'll do is I'll try and read the resistance from this point to the control board and see if there is resistance in the wire. Then I'll cut it and bypass it from the back of the control board and see if that resistance or that voltage will be okay. So I'll do that and get back to you. So now what I'll do is, I know the 5 volts point, which is this one, so I'll probe it and do my continuity testing and see what I'll be getting. And even apart from the continuity testing, I'll also do a resistance test and see, to make sure that that's the exact one. So now after connecting it, you can see the beeping. So what I'll do is I'll change it to resistance and see 0.6 or 0.7 ohms, which is not much. So what I'll do is I'll cut the wire and join it and see. So now I've disconnected the wire at the back of the control board, and I have laid the wire through to connect it to this point, and I want to check if it will have any effect. And still the same voltage is not having any effect. So maybe it could be that the sensors that are causing the issue. Then we know what to do.